Yeah, who's the perm lady? What? That's so interesting. But she has a Wikipedia page, and she's known for being in a Peruvian telenovela in the 90s. So she's an older lady, it seems. Yeah.
So should we introduce like how we came across this film and like
Okay.
why we're reviewing this
Yeah,
film?
I'll do it. So, we are reviewing a film called Mistura, mixture, pretty much, which is not a word I was familiar with. Anyway, we came across this movie because our good friend Kelly reached out to us about looking at the film because we would never get the opportunity to really get to know it had she not mentioned it. This is not a movie that's out in streaming or anything like that. So it felt pretty cool to be sort of in the exclusive. Gave us a link to watch it, and we've been sitting on this for a few months, but we never got the chance because we were gonna wait till Drayden you came back from your Europe trip before we were gonna do it, and then we saw that it was gonna premiere or at least be shown in a Peruvian film festival in Toronto. So me and Josh asked Kelly if they were willing to set us up because on the website it said that all the tickets were sold out. So she said yeah, and she got in contact with the head guy who we'll get into it, but he like took a photo with us and everything. We were known as the journalists, which was really funny. Um, but yeah, it was just a great opportunity to get to see something we definitely wouldn't get to see otherwise. And it's opened our eyes to just be able to see more international films. It came out in like 2020, or at least was like premiered in 2024. So it's been done. It's been out and about. It's I think only this past year it's been being shown at film festivals in the USA. So it's now just being distributed. Whether it will ever make it to streaming one day, maybe Mubi. That
Movie.
seems like the most fitting
Yeah.
one. That would be the best way to see it. But other than that, we want to just spread the word, I suppose, just because of the awesome opportunity. So I guess just to sort of plot synopsis, uh, let me get the characters' names out real quick so I can do this correctly. We look at Norma. Ms. Norma gets cheated on by her husband. There you go. That's the interesting pull in. And she has to learn to deal with that because he takes all the money. And which is kind of crazy, by the way. Like, but leaving her with the mortgage, and obviously she's not going to be able to pay the mortgage because she doesn't work. So it looks at that. She wants to open a restaurant because that's a passion that was sort of hidden because the movie talks a lot about real things that kind of still are very important in Latin culture, where women don't do much more than be wives, and that's what's expected of them. They explore that. They explore the racism and just like the racial dynamics of Latin America. And I'm pretty sure I told you, Josh, but I've told my wife this because I watched it here at home as well. But these are very prevalent topics today, still, if I'm honest. Like this hasn't, not that much has changed in that aspect. So yeah, I don't know. It's like a nice movie, to put it plainly. Like it tackles a few nice topics to think about. It's overall a pretty clean movie. Yeah, it's a pretty clean movie to show your family. And I think if there's anything that stood out to me about the movie, I actually thought it was like a very good looking movie. I thought the cinematography in some of these shots were really nice. Um, but we'll dive into all of that. So I guess maybe we should talk about first, Josh, our experience in getting to this film festival.
Yeah. So yeah, me and Daniel were invited to go to this the screening of Mistura at the Peruvian Toronto Film Festival. And this is the second annual film Peruvian Film Festival that is happening in Toronto, and it was happening at the Carlton Imagine Cinema on Carlton Street, downtown Toronto. So me and Daniel driving downtown, and I had the brilliant idea. I was like, oh, like I want to get this running belt at this store, downtown by the well. We had lots of time to spare. Like we were getting there pretty early. And so I figured, hey, like we have the time. It'll be on the way. Great. And so we were getting off the Gardner, and we see because if you're driving on the Gardner, it's elevated. You're kind of driving through the downtown core with all the buildings, the TN Tower, the Rogers Center, and we're on the Gardner, and we can see the Blue Jays, the Blue Jays fans, thousands of them like flooding the streets. We're like, oh, there must have been a Blue Jays game that just finished up. So we're getting off of Spadina, and it's just heavy traffic. People everywhere, and this was at, I don't know, like what, 4?
It was like 4:30.
Yeah, around 4:30. So pretty prime time rush hour, but this was also a Sunday. So you think, oh, not so much traffic. It's a Sunday, but it's also the weekend downtown Toronto, with everything going on. There was a Blue Jays game going on. There was the Caravana Festival, which happens every year. Anyways, at this point, I'm also like, I have to use the washroom. I have to use the washroom very badly. But you know what? So we drove past the point, and I said, you know what? Forget the store. Let's just make our way to the movie theater, because that's a priority, but also find a washroom for me to use. And so we ended up typing in the Eaton Center. We're like, okay, well, let's just go park there. And it was an 18-minute drive from that point. And so we make our way to the Eaton Center, and we're coming across, and we see that the garage entrance to get in was just red taillights all the way out to Yonge Street. I'm like, no, not happening. We can't do that. Oh, I forgot to mention before we even got to the Eaton Center, while we were driving along Dundas, and we drove through a live movie set. Like, this was legit. People were filming on set. Big spotlights, huge camera rigs going everywhere, yellow New York City cabs. Like, you can tell people were in costume, and you'd see like little PA assistants running around with clipboards and little headphones. And it was a pretty good stretch of Dundas Street west there, just west of Yonge Street, closer to Spadina. And yeah, it was pretty crazy driving through that. Pretty cool. But like, tons of movies and TV shows are filmed in Toronto, so nothing new there. But it was just funny that, we're driving to this film festival, and we're driving through this movie set. I have to use the washroom. And so then I'm like, yeah, no, we're not going to the Eaton Center. That's not happening. So I took a left. We're driving down Yonge Street closer to Union. And all of a sudden, like, we're just, at this point, we're like, okay, find a washroom. Where can we go? Where can we park? And we're looking, and the Yonge Street's getting more narrow. And we're seeing all these big black trucks and pylons parking. We're driving through another movie set on Yonge Street. We're like, what's going on here? Like, they're taking up all the parking spots. So what ended up happening was I saw Good Life Fitness on Yonge Street. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I'm a member there. I can go use the washroom there. And I'm like, oh man, like, what do I do here? Like, I'm like, oh, do I like go in? Like, it's going to find parking. I'm like, okay, you know what, Daniel? You take the wheel. I'm going to hop out. I'm going to use the washroom, and then you just like go around the block. And so Daniel slid over. I got out of the car, went to the washroom and Good Life, and Daniel just kept driving down to Front Street. He couldn't turn left at all for any of the streets, because they're all one ways, right? Going different ways. And so I wasn't too long. I get out. I'm walking down the street, give him a call. I'm like, hey, Daniel, where are you? And he's like, oh, I'm just turning on Front Street. I'm like, okay, I'll cut across King and meet you at church. And so he ended up picking me up at Church Street, and we continued our way to the theater. We go to this parking spot that we thought would be good, and it was completely full. So we kept driving again. Dan was like, oh, we'll go to my sister's school. There's parking there. And so we went to her school. There was, I don't even know, it just like disappeared. Like, what was the deal with that? It was just, I can't remember.
It became like residence parking. Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
it was no longer open to the public, which was not the case before.
So we're this is all on Church Street, right? So if you're familiar with Toronto, Church Street, it's like the gay village of the city. Like, that's where they are. That's their hub. And so luckily enough, actually, we ended up seeing a parking sign for the Spot Hero, this app I use, into this building, and we ended up finding parking there. We were about a 5-minute walk from the theater, and yeah, made it to the theater. We walk in, and we're introducing ourselves. They weren't too sure They're like, oh, let me go get the, this other person. And they come up, they're like, we're showing them the email. They're like, oh, the journalist. We're like, yeah. We're the journalists. Like, okay, come on, come in here. And that's when we went to. They had a nice backdrop with a red carpet, and we took a picture with one of the film festival director. And then they're like, yeah, just go on, grab whatever seat you want in the theater. And we grabbed our seats nice and early. And from that point, we were seated for this movie, and it was a packed theater, lots of Hispanics, lots of Peruvians, and it was a vibe. It was a good energy, good crowd. There was this one guy who was kind of causing trouble there, but
this old man who wanted to sit in like a reserved area. And they were telling him no, and he's like, "Oh, it's fine. Don't worry. It's good. It's like, no, that's like a reserved seat." And he was like, so eventually he moved. But I was like, "Are they gonna have to get security in here? Like, what's gonna have to happen?" Because he was not leaving. But yeah, I mean, I guess there was a section tapered off for people that they had invited, or because we were not. I'm assuming the general people that paid for tickets were in the back area. But like the way it is such a small theater. So even though we were kind of like the fourth row or something like that, it still felt pretty far. Like it was just high
small
enough
screen.
That, it's like in front of you. So it's not a problem. But yeah, I mean, I think Josh, you're even underplaying just how much you had to pee. Like it was bad. This guy,
I am super underplaying. Like this, it was like
he was dying.
I was dying, and the fact that we were driving like in traffic downtown with everything going on, driving through movie sets, Cabana happening, Jay's game getting out. Like it was like I was bursting. Like I was like, I have to go. And every time we got to a parking lot, I was like, oh no, like it just kept getting worse and worse. And
because again, it was like 4:30 that we were at the well, or even earlier than that.
Yeah, it was like 4:15, 4:00.
Yeah. And by the time we parked for the last time, like to go to the movie theater, and we walked about 10 minutes to get to the movie theater from there, it was literally like 5:45, 5:50. So we were in the car for no joke, like almost an hour and a half trying to find parking.
Shoot.
Yeah. And like the downtown core is not like, it's big, but from where we were traveling, it's really not that far. But with the traffic and everything, it takes a long time, of course.
Yeah. So that whole thing where Josh, like, we were contemplating, we're like, should he hop out? And I'm like, well, you know what? Like, if you really have to go. So I slid from the pass. I didn't go around the car. Like, I just hopped over into the driver's seat and I've never driven on that street. I mean, I work near there, but I've never driven there. And so I was like, okay, just make sure to not piss people off. Like, that was my goal. Because then I'll get stressed and I'll start panicking. So I just kept waiting until I saw like a good avenue to turn left. And that was ironically in like one of the busier sections where the Union Station is.
That's
just
a
over
busy
here.
intersection.
But there was I don't know what it was. There was like no cars coming. I guess because of the Blue Jays game, I could totally just burn off traffic. I don't know. But there were no cars coming. So I was able to turn left, and then I went near St. Lawrence Market, and then I turned left again. And so, yeah, I in like 20 minutes, I just went like this. And then Josh
the giant U.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like running across King Street to like intersect with him.
Yeah, because I just kept going. And then I was like, I'll come back, don't worry. But it was hectic. And I think Josh he's not mentioning that when we first made the decision that we weren't going to go to the well anymore, we got in behind this Tesla, and this guy got out of his car. I guess his partner, I don't know who it was, but they had suitcases. I don't know where they're coming from. He's taking them and putting them in the car. The light turns green, and he's not moving at all for like a solid 30 seconds probably.
30 minutes, 45 seconds. Like, yeah. I'm honking. This guy's not moving. Like, lights green, cars are passing the other lane. I'm like, why the heck what's this guy doing? Like, yeah. He finally decided to go. I don't know what his deal was though. It was.
So it's mayhem. Yeah. Again, I do not recommend driving. I went to a concert not that long ago. I hated driving, and that wasn't even in the areas we were, which is probably more busy. I was more near the Lakeshore area, which is busy, but like, I think a bit more manageable than Yonge and Dundas. But anyways, yeah. I mean, we got to that theater. and people really enjoyed the movie. I mean, I probably heard at the very beginning some people shushing because people are just chatting. But
Well, that same guy that was causing trouble, he stood up. So this is
oh,
an
he
old
stood
theater.
up. Yeah.
This was an old theater, so it's all one level. It's just the ground is slightly angled down, right? And so this guy's
Right.
standing up and he's blocking the view for everybody, and he's like looking for something, and he's got his
Flashlight
phone
on.
light out, like he's has no idea. It was like 30 seconds. This guy's standing here just like interrupting the movie, and then finally someone from the back was like, "Oh, here it is," and sat down, and then it was fine for that. But yeah, people were pretty locked in, very, very engaged, lots of laughs. Did they clap after? I think they might.
Yeah,
have.
there was clap.
Yeah, they clapped. Yeah, it was. I gotta say, I'm happy that we had the opportunity to be able to see this movie in a theater at a film festival with Hispanics and Peruvians, and it was just a good experience, good energy, and I'm always for going to see a movie at the theaters. It's always a better experience, I find.
Did it gather a good applause at the end of Mistura?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
good.
Yeah, and this is gonna sound terrible. I used to make fun of the fact that, for me at least, the standards for what is a good movie are kind of low in Latin America. Like, traveling on as many buses as I did, honestly, like the Fast and Furious movies, the Taken movies, those are what is considered like awesome movies over there. So this movie, where it's much more tame than what's most people watch, I mean, in the end, it still was a simple enough plot to follow along. It wasn't
Very
as
simple.
it wasn't as if we took people went and saw a very confusing movie that wants you to not understand what it's going for until you watch YouTube analysis videos. It was, yeah, it was a good reaction, and I mean, the fact that people even knew about this is pretty impressive as well. I had no idea. I mean, I've never heard of the Toronto Peruvian Film Festival. And it reminded us of, before we started this pod, the horror. Was it actually no? Was it before we started
Toronto,
this pod?
I think it was just as we were starting it. Like this was in May, and we just started the podcast. So
Okay, yeah,
think it
the
was just
Toronto
as we-
Horror Film Festival, where
yeah,
it was a small theater, but actually that was bigger,
that was a big turnout, bigger theater,
bigger theater.
but horror. There's a big cult following for horror fans, right? So
Yeah,
it was a good turnout, and yeah, same thing. Like it was for that case, it was the first time they were doing this horror film festival, and so yeah, there must have been about maybe 10 or 12 short films we all watched, and then we got to do a people's choice and voted which one we thought was the best. But yeah, it was just great energy, good vibes. Everyone there was clapping and laughing and reacting, and you just don't get that at big box chain theaters.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was great. Do you have any more questions, Reed? We've done a lot of the talking, so I'd love to know if you have any questions, or you want to even start off the chat about the movie, what you liked and stuff.
I guess the last question on the film festival, were any of the crew there, like cast or?
No, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years of touring would be a lot, so that's totally understandable.
Yeah, I'm assuming these guys are all doing other things now, but it's so cool that it's getting distributed and shown around.
Right.
It's an interesting world that I think, we talk a lot about. I don't know what percentage of movies go to theaters, like mass production, but I'd love to know in a general sense, like how much is it? Because if it's a small amount and there's just that many movies that are out there, shorter films or even feature length films, and each country might have those, like it's, there's a lot of movies that don't get the presentation that most of the films we talk about do. So I think it's a whole cool thing to get to know about. And
Yeah.
as we've talked about, yeah, it'd be great to maybe talk to someone one day from the movie about the experience and like what goes on.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I can start off. I definitely have a lot to say about this film. I did really enjoy it, actually. Like, I think this is my first experience with South American film. So I'm very new to the whole like there are probably a lot of cultural references that I wouldn't get and like a lot of I don't know insinuation that I wouldn't get, but I honestly think this is a very important film. Like I haven't seen a film that has as explicit as this film like advocated for a transnational collective identity, which I think is really important especially in our day today. Like Canada, I live in Alberta, which is basically ultra nationalist, like almost bordering on like fascism. So just watching this felt like a big relief, and like I liked the themes throughout that and how this transnational identity kind of like intertwines with this feminine perspective, this feminist perspective that the director is trying to advocate for. So overall, I really enjoyed the thematics of the film. I think they're very important. I thought it was a beautiful film. Very nice coloring. The food was it just made me so hungry. This the one ceviche dish that guy made. I was like, oh man, dude, my mouth was
Oh,
watering.
love me a good dish of ceviche.
Oh yes.
You guys call it ceviche though. That's so funny.
Why? What's
Well, it's
the actual
ceviche. Che.
Ceviche.
ceviche?
Ceviche.
Ceviche. Ceviche.
Ceviche.
Yeah. Just because yeah, ceviche. That sounds like we should call it that though, as like a very casual term. Yo, you got that ceviche, bro?
Yeah.
The leche de tigre. That's what they talked about. Yeah, so you'd actually have to know. That's true. I mean, I did think about that when Josh was watching it too. I'm like, I don't know if like because my perspective is having. I mean, I wasn't in Peru, but I did spend a lot of time with Peruvians. They were in my mission, and just like the Ecuadorian sense, or my family from Guatemala, so I've grown up like go visit there and seeing what that's like as well. So I'm familiar with the Latino culture. I'm not sure if yeah, maybe I saw it differently. Just certain things. But yeah, like when he says leche de tigre and like leche, like the panther's milk and stuff like that, that's in reference to just like the liquid and how spicy it is. Like that's what they call it.
Mm,
And in other countries, they do ceviche, like they have their own dishes, but it's not like known as to be spicy quite like the Peruvians are. So the Peruvian ceviche is sort of known as the like plate. That's the ceviche. While other
right.
countries do similar things, but it's not that. And one of the main things is that they don't have the tiger's milk or the panther's milk. That's very much a Peruvian thing.
Right. So from your background living in South America and obviously your family's from there also, do you think that this is a progressive film for South America or for Peru? And
I think it definitely highlights. I mean, it's set in the '60s, so like it. I would guess it would be more progressive if it was a modern day film per se. But it was. I've said I think here a bit earlier, like it still represents many things that are realistically like still happening. Like the racism against black people is very real in South America. I mean, I'm laughing. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it's nervous laughter. But it's true that they're kind of just even today just separated. Like they don't like mix honestly. And in Peru, I'd have to think there's less black people in Peru than in Ecuador. In Ecuador, there's actually like a good amount. In Colombia as well. But yeah, Peru, I'm not known for that. So them having this Afro Latino part of it was very interesting, very opening. But it did represent a lot of that. We'll throw around nicknames. I mean, that's just the case. You just give nicknames to fat people, short people, tall people. So black people get like very hyper specific to the fact that they're black, and that's just normal. But as we saw in like he was annoyed by what he was called by the husband or the ex-husband,
mhm.
and so though that's still there. And then for sure, like the whole feminist nature of it all is that yeah, in Latin culture, women are raised essentially to become housewives. They don't have the expectation to go to university and that. And I know it was similar everywhere, but definitely it's still very much an issue in Latin America, and it does come down to finances as well. Like unless your parents are paying for you to go to a nice school, you don't go to university and get a career. You stay at home and sweep and clean and cook, and that's the I guess the interesting part is that this Norma character, she actually is rich, and but that's the thing, like she's still not expected to be a businesswoman or be this. So
Mm-hmm.
she assimilates into that role, and that's just the scary part for a lot of women that probably separate from their husbands is, and I guess like being personal, I see that in my own family where your role was a housewife. So when you get separated from, the money goes, this goes, all that, like, and it's really scary. So it's a, yeah, like showing the independence, and that scene where the friends go to visit, she like they're telling her, "Oh, you don't have to do this." You know, it's like shameful that she's even working, and it's like that's not at all like, isn't that crazy? It's like super backwards. But
Mm-hmm.
they view it as it's crazy that she's working. So, yeah, in the end, definitely highlights a lot of things that are still true to this day in Latin America.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if there's too much more for me to add on to what you guys have already said about things that were good, themes, cinematography, color grading, just like different shots with the food. I all agree with. Definitely made me hungry for a steak or ceviche as well too. It's been a long time since I've had that. I think the first time I had it was when we were in Costa Rica, Drayton,
Oh man.
having it at that little house, little hills restaurant there. So fresh, so good. Um, but yeah, I really liked. There was a lot of things I liked about this movie. You know, they talk about how Lima, Peru, is a boiling pot for different cultures and ethnicities. Similar to Toronto. Toronto, I don't know if there's a city, to be honest, more culturally diverse than Toronto in the world. And it's true. It really is everything here. And I guess, you know, it's like that in Lima as well too. So it was cool to see kind of just a parallel with that with Norma's restaurant, right? Like she wanted to have this French cuisine restaurant in a city that not too many people are familiar with the French cuisine, I guess. And so it wasn't until she sort of let go of her ego and, you know, Oscar and Rosa and Raul were all able to kind of have their input and, you know, their bring a part of them into the restaurant. And that's when it really started to take off, right? Like ceviche is really the golden star here. That's what saved the day. It's what uh, the the guy from the bank, he brought those, you know, those guys for the mortgage. They're like, you have to try this, you know, the ceviche. We'll postpone, you know, whatever your closure of your house, you know, for this ceviche.
Yeah.
Good food goes a long way.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Um, yeah, I liked that whole arc. Like the movie starts with her being so stubborn about trying to keep the life she had, where she's never truly accepted a Peruvian like side to her. You know, she was born in France, I believe is what she said. So she was not she never probably considered herself Peruvian. And
Mm-hmm.
so she even tried escaping right in that plane to fly home, and she didn't get a she didn't want a ticket to come back, and it was too much, so she actually ended up staying there. But she was looking to abandon that side of her, and I think another highlight, which was a I thought was hilarious, the idea that she like refused to go to the market. So markets, yes, are very much well where the common folk go, and so her going there, of course, is viewed as terribly like crazy. I mean, in Ecuador, I even would not go to the market. I would go to a grocery store, and that was considered fancy and like elite. And it's no joke, a grocery store probably as nice as a Loblaws, you know, or a Zayres or whatever Loblaws store you have around. Like that's the equivalent, but that's viewed as the higher end.
Mm-hmm.
So her going to that market was hilarious because that's essentially how it is. Like it's outdoors, it's probably hot if it's like a hot country. Um, just water. It's like the floor is wet because of all the things they bring in. flies everywhere because of the food. So it's not ideal whatsoever. And I definitely wouldn't think of it to go and buy the plates. But again, like the message of that scene was that they get these plates, and or she sees that they're the same ones from Sears and they're cheaper, and she's like, "Oh, they must have robbed the store. That's
Yeah.
why it's lesser. Like they're robbing people." It's like actually this probably the other store is robbing you of just getting like your plates because it's probably actually costing that much. They're not going to overcharge you. Um, so there's just cool things like that where it shows things that I still see, and I guess I'll share a story that there was a mayor or a person running to be mayor in the area that I was living in. I happened to be living in this city where the elections were going on, and what's really funny about I guess Ecuadorian specifically, but it's probably the same in other countries, is that there's not just like 3 or 4 candidates that run for election. There's no joke like 30 something, 40 something people that run, and they all have campaigns. So you see signs everywhere for multiple different, and they like have a specific number. So it'll be like, I'm the number 10 guy, and I'm like, you got to vote for number 10. You got to vote for number. So there was this one woman, I think her name was Olga Gray, and she, no, I remember this day. We were like outside, and it was near the apartment we lived in, and she was going around like saluting people, hugging them, and very common, of course, the kiss on the cheek. Like that's just a greeting. So she was kissing, yeah, people were kissing her on the cheek. She was saying hello to everyone. And weeks later, she was canceled, or just her election died because they had audio of her going, "I need to bathe myself in alcohol from touching all of these people." Blah blah
Oh
blah.
my
Like,
gosh.
yeah, and so that's what that reminded me of with this woman, like when the farmers were protesting, when and she had like snarky remarks about everything, and it's like that's exactly who that is, and there are people like that that are raised richer, and so when you and this it's more prevalent there than here, where you might have a super nice house and you have to like guard it up and have gates everywhere, and then right down the street there's a shack where like this family lives sleeps on the floor. Like that is a lot more common for sure over there, and like so when you live I guess more amongst the quote unquote poorer people, like that's how they react to things. And I say that just because most neighborhoods here are pretty, pretty nice. Even if you have like the cheapest place possible, it's definitely still nowhere near the worst possible place you'd sleep in these countries. That's for sure. So, anyways, I've been chatting, but yeah, I think that's what it seemed real to me what it was saying. And again, even though it was in the 1960s, it's still more than ever is very like relation or relatable. I said relational, which isn't a word.
Yeah, and like going on top of that, I think they portrayed the class distinction very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oscar, he was always consumed with the news and like what the riots were doing, what the protesters were saying, and Norma was completely oblivious to anything in that nature. And it's because she doesn't need to worry. She's got the money. She lives far away from those problems. Whereas Oscar, he still has to take the bus from her fancy house to wherever he lives. We don't even get to see where he lives. But and like even like the portrayal of the skin coloration between all of the people working in the kitchen, including Norma. Like I know in the Dominican Republic, the Dominican people, they cover themselves completely during the day so they don't be acquainted with Haitian people, because darker skin is kind of considered, I don't know, you're part of the poor class. So I think they
Mm-hmm.
portrayed that really well. And I really liked how both Oscar and Norma, they both loved this Peruvian poet, Cesar frick, I forget.
Vallejo. Yeah.
Vallejo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I liked that connection. I thought that was an interesting thing to put in there to show that, like, despite their class distinction, there's like this intellectual connection that these people can have. Like, these are fake borders that we create. And we should just kind of deconstruct them. But yeah, I thought they did a good job on that.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah. Are you gonna jump in, Josh?
I was just gonna kind of, if there's anything else you want to say, we can say, but I was gonna kind of shift gears a bit.
Okay. I'll say one more thing is just I like that yeah, the movie in the end is about putting your walls down. Like she was so stubborn on treating those that work for her as lesser people. And so it wasn't until she's accepting of that. And we'll dive into maybe one of the issues I have with the movie is like is was there a romantic element to it?
Yeah, go ahead. We can talk about that.
But anyways, yeah, like I will like this once she just goes, she leaves her fancy party at the country club and she goes to whatever the heck is going on in the streets. Like that's so not her from the beginning of the movie to then. But again, it's a nice illustration of who she kind of becomes and just more mature in a way. But yeah, she ends up kissing her buddy Oscar,
Her
who
buddy.
drives for her. Yes, and I told Josh, I'm like, did you see that coming? Because like for me, that just felt so out of nowhere. And watching it a second time, there's maybe a bit more where you can notice something that they're trying to get started, but I still didn't think it was enough. I think they needed a scene where they really like bond, and then maybe you can have the happy kiss at the end. But what did you guys think?
No, I agree 100%. Well, watching this, I noticed previously maybe like Oscar looking at her in a certain way, but I didn't clue into Norma having that same energy or vibes towards Oscar at all. And so, yeah, having that kiss at the end, was it necessary? What were we trying to do with that? I don't know. Like, if we don't have that if we don't feel that connection between the two, why am I gonna care if they kiss? I'm just more like, what the heck? Like, yeah, I don't know.
Who do you think flirted most? Like, was it Norma or was it Oscar? Who did we see that connection with more?
That's what it's interesting because I got just friend vibes from them. But watching it a second time, yeah, there's a bit more of a like they would look at each other a bit and stuff like that. But or the connection as you mentioned with the poet and the cooking and just other things like music, whatever they were talking about. But yeah, I would just say there wasn't all that much, and I think Josh has a point where maybe it was actually better if she just joined the party and they had fun, and maybe you'd buy it a bit more then that there might be a romantic spark coming between them. But yeah, I don't think we needed a romantic kiss because I didn't get that vibe, and I would say that the reason that vibe struggles to get there is actually because Oscar is a bit too nice. I think that he like needed to be not to say a bad boy, but have a bit more of an attitude towards things, and
Yeah.
because I feel like that's what she's be sort of into. Instead, he was just kind of like whenever he was talking to her was always just the nicest, happiest, minus when they would have a bit of disagreements. But even then, I mean, he communicated very well. So I don't need him to be a jerk, but I do think like they could have had a bit more tension between them, which would have made them then have that whole enemies to lovers sort of thing.
Yeah, I think reflecting on this after we watched it the first time, I was thinking, oh, when they did have those disputes and fights, it did kind of seem like they were a couple getting in a fight about certain conflicts. But like you said, yeah, Oscar's too nice. It reminded me of the scene where they're in that parking garage and she's being pretty rude and degrading towards Oscar, saying like, you would never understand, like blah blah blah, like you're not part of this social class to where you would understand. And he's like, that's it, I quit, I'm done. And he's like walking away and she's like trying to follow him in the car. And then right after that, he's like, okay, I forgive you. Let's start a clean slate. It's like, okay, you're too nice, Oscar. Like, come on.
Yeah, it was a bit soon. But
And so that's one thing I also, one thing that I would point out about this movie is everything seemed too simple, too simplistic, not enough character development or conflict at all. Like everything happened way too easily. She found her ideal chef right away and it was the only guy. she decided to start this restaurant with almost no issues really, except for having to change the menu. I don't know. It just seemed a little too,
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
bit like, and also when she just has the coma and then she wakes up and everything's solved essentially, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The whole staff is deciding to, take a
Take a
pay cut.
month's yeah, take
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like, to be honest, from what I've heard, the restaurant business is not the business to get into if you want to make money.
Yeah, that's the
So
other
the
thing
fact,
too. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We'll make a profit in no time. It's like what?
yeah,
Which I mean, they did show that it was struggling for sure, but
yeah.
still, it seemed like things got very positive very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that the restaurant was full the first day as well. I thought, would it be full the first day? I know. I mean, I know she had like a lot of friends and probably French people that arrived, but like, would it be that busy on a first day? I don't know. And also, how would they like if it's that busy? There's no way you can only have like that many cooks at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need a bigger kitchen. But I mean, that's a technicality, I guess, on the movie's front. But yeah, you have a point, Josh. I mean, maybe it would have made sense that they meet like these fancier chefs, but they don't cook as good as Raul. Um, I did think though Raul was a good inclusion
For sure.
because it's it's actually very like known Peru and Japan have a connection. And so I remember talking with Peruvian people, and they would talk about going to Japan because Japan is like you can I forget what the agreement is, but a lot of Peruvians go to work in Japan, or Japanese people come to work in Peru. So it made like you can't have a Peruvian thing without having a Japanese person show up, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanna. I think one of the things that I wish would have done differently was the characterization of the son, of Norma's son. Like, I almost wish that they would have made him either part of the resistance or a protester in Peru, because he did have the stoner persona, but he was also like a spoiled brat. Like, we see him in the end, he's like in this country club just like living it up. He's got like girls on both sides of him sipping his pina coladas or whatever. And I just felt that was like, I don't know, very uncharacteristic of
What they were trying
him
to
or
portray.
who he could have been. Yeah.
Yeah, like he could have rejected it a bit more, perhaps.
Yeah.
I thought at least there was like an irony to it where he is trying to portray this type of look. In the end, he was just like, as rich and whatever. Like that apartment he was living in, he probably is paying for and having a bunch of these guys like live with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did think about that as well. I didn't, I just kind of took it as the irony of, and I told Josh this actually, because one of the things that annoyed me the most were people that would come to South America and sort of like cosplay as backpackers essentially, or just like they want to live amongst the people, but in the end you can probably go back home to Germany and you're in a nice place, because that's what happened. I remember one time actually in a bus station I saw a guy walking, like a tall guy, definitely European, barefoot in a bus station. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Just like, just act normal and like dress normally and travel and go and look at places. But I find this whole like facade of trying to be amongst the people, isn't that, what's it called? I don't know. There's certain movies that get judged for trying to like just be part of a topic but not actually indulge in it. So that's how I feel
Right.
about that. Like people travel and sometimes they just like hang out with, and they're like, yeah, I'm one of you guys, and you're not though, because they sleep on the floor and you go home and like you leave that all behind. So that's something I never forgot about on the mission. I never thought to myself that like I'm one of these guys. Like I knew I was in a privileged position even then and was able to enjoy myself more than the people there. And anyone would trade spots with, like, any of three of us went to at least, like, anyone would trade spots to be a Canadian citizen. Like, that's just the reality because of the benefits that come with that. So anyway, I just point that out. Like, that's what it reminded me of. Like, he's a French dude and he comes and he, like, gets the hippie hair And of course, that typically has to do with being a resistance or a protester against the government, blah, blah, blah. And then he's enjoying himself at the country club. It's
Right.
like, yeah. Also, he was like wanting to get his parents back together, which was interesting. Like,
I
I
thought the
feel like he would see his dad as like an evil human being.
right.
But I guess he pays the bills, so.
Sure. Not anymore. Norma's got it.
Yeah, yeah. I also thought, with including the son, it was a bit. I don't know if there was just like an editing thing, or a scene was missing, but she comes back from talking to that friend group, and they keep calling her. Like, how many times are they going to call her to speak to her? They're like, "Oh, Mariano wants to speak to with you." Like 3 times they did that. Anyway,
Yeah.
she goes back to see her son. When she first saw him, it was all nice and whatever. I understand she might be a bit annoyed, but they need to show her getting more annoyed with her son before she just comes back and she's like, "What's with that hair? What's with that? Like, you look terrible. You look like," it kind of came out of nowhere. So I think maybe there was something missing where, like, there had to be an inciting incident where maybe he said something to piss her off and then she would go off on him and that's when they'd run away. So I think there was just like some connecting pieces to make it a bit smoother, but
Right.
overall, I thought the movie, we had a pleasant time watching it and like felt that it was a good representation of what it wanted to do. And like, yeah, I think overall that's why we gave it a decent rating because we still enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, going off that scene, I actually kind of liked that scene because, like, these girls, they represent kind of the hypocrisy of her old life. Like, they're like all friendly and when talking to her, and then behind her back, they're like, "Yeah, this isn't even the French. Like, this is fake French restaurant. This is like so stupid." And I think she could obviously see through that, and that kind of made her project onto her son.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well too, because when she first met his son, she kind of wanted to keep him away because she was embarrassed with how he looked and kind of the aesthetic and vibe of her restaurant that she was going for. And so when she kept meeting with these friends, I think that, yeah, that affected her and her self-esteem even more. And it, I guess, yeah, projecting those feelings onto her son got her
Yeah.
a little bit more agitated, I think.
Poor kid.
Yeah,
First
you know
time
what?
seeing it.
Well, I was seeing that. I was like, man, like, if this is the way she is,
Yeah,
maybe there's no surprise why the husband left her for another woman.
Ms. Peru, by the way, as well. It said he was
Yeah.
and I think they also said that she was the daughter of like a country club member, that like, so they would know the father, which is pretty
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
It might sound pretty crazy, but like the husband's, the design or at least the look they gave him, he was so creepy looking.
Mm-hmm.
Like the mustache is creepy. The glasses, I don't know, something about the thick glasses were like interesting. So they made him look pretty angry, and the fact that he was like trying to win her back like pretty instantly once he came home was hilarious too. Just on the phone, like, "I've been thinking about you,"
Yeah.
and she just hangs it up. Um, but yeah, it was. I think everyone did a pretty good job acting wise with what they got. Um, I think, yeah, Norma did a good job. My wife actually said that she knows her from a novella or like a drama series in the past. So
Interesting.
like that was funny. And we mentioned the food. I think I told Josh this, like the way they filmed the food is probably some of the best stuff I've seen since The Bear, the TV show, where like they make food look amazing on that show. So a shot I thought about was where they're boiling the egg to make the hard
Right.
boiled egg. I'm like, how do they
Mhm.
film that? Because you're getting a shot inside of the pot essentially, but obviously you can't just film that. So I wonder what they did
Well,
to make it look like they're boiling an egg.
there are glass pots out there. Maybe it was a glass pot.
But even then, the image, it was so clear. I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's some good shots. I also, yeah, big foodie over here. Daniel's a big foodie as well, so we appreciate the nice food shots. And even reading a lot of the letterbox comments, everyone's like, "Man, this movie made me so hungry," as it did you, Dre.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have an interest in trying some of the traditional Peruvian dishes?
Dude, of course. I'm always down. I hear that they really like their guinea pig over there. Is that pretty popular?
You know what's funny? I never came across it because in Ecuador they also have it, but I never came across. I actually had a companion that told me he was in the Peruvian airport because he went to the MTC in Peru, and he saw the like outside of the airport they were literally like selling it on the street, just like barbecuing the guinea
On a
pig.
stick.
Oh man.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it's called cuy. They didn't bring that one up, funny enough, in the movie. But that one would have been definitely too much for her, even when
In the
she
market?
accepted the Peruvian. But yeah, I mean, in the market, I'm sure they saw that.
Well, it
I
would have
don't
been
know,
nice.
man.
There was that scene of her trying the fruit. It was like really close up shot and just like fruit action. It would have been funny if it was like that with her trying like a guinea on a stick or something like that.
Yeah, that one is pretty wild. I've never had that one. They actually did mention anticuchos, which my wife's uncle, he like every summer makes those, and it's one of her brother's favorite meals. But it's cow heart on the like stick.
Yikes.
So
That'd be a hearty meat.
it is a bit hearty, yes. And
Yeah.
also like it tastes good when you eat it, but it actually has like a certain smell from a distance, if I'm honest. But yeah, that one I recognize. They said causa, which is like a potato sort of dish. Loma saltado is very well known, where it's just like fries and steak, but a lot of like tomatoes and onions as well on top of that. So every time they mentioned a dish that I sort of remembered, I was like, "Oh, that one, yeah, yeah." So I wanted to show my wife the movie because I'm like, you would like see some things and you'd not relate, but just you'd know. So that that was a cool callback, and I'm sure that's how a lot of Peruvians felt. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we outlined like a lot of things that we would have wanted differently or loopholes in the film, but looking at the IMDb, it's actually won 20 awards, and most of them best feature narrative screenplay. So that's pretty impressive, I would say, for a small film like this. And I guess, what do you guys think would be like an equivalent American film to compare for our audience of this film? I was thinking Eat, Pray, Love is probably like a kind of comparable theme and story arc.
Trying to think, because this type of movie, so you took up the 1960s, like are there many movies about a wife sort of breaking free from like what confides her to a traditional sort of lifestyle or marriage? I'm sure there's plenty, but that'd probably be the type of movie that it would be.
Olivia Wilde, that Hello Darling or whatever it's called.
Don't worry, darling.
Don't worry, darling. Yeah.
I mean, without the whole cult side of things, maybe. Yeah, just a lot of movies that just have to do with women break. It's not really all that related, but I kind of meant when you mentioned that, I think of Erin Brockovich.
I don't think I know.
Is that the
Julia
Julia
Roberts.
Gardner or Roberts?
It's Julia Roberts, and she becomes a lawyer, but she comes from. It's not the same because she's not rich at all, but she comes from leaving an abusive marriage and stuff like that, and then like she has to figure it all out. Or I suppose another one would be, but then again, that's not the same. So I don't know. It's kind of hard, I guess, to find an equivalent, and I guess that's just because, it's something. Well, no,
Unique.
that's not true. I don't know. I just don't know.
Beauty. I guess one. You got something, Josh?
Nope, I got nothing.
Okay, I was gonna say, I in one of my film classes we were looking at this meme. It was like Mexican films, and it was just like look normal, and then it was like American portraying Mexican, and it's like this dark sepia like tint. So I thought that was interesting for this film to have like it was very bright, like a lot of like bright lighting all the time when walking through the houses or during the day. I haven't necessarily seen that kind of aesthetic except for in maybe like some TV shows that I've seen. So I thought that was an interesting look.
It was very colorful, and I also thought the costumes were very good. And they would, if you would notice sometimes that they blend in really well with the exterior. So the costume and set design, I think, was actually really good for the movie. And like I said, I was actually impressed with the way it looked, because sometimes when you see a smaller film, the expectation of like what's being shown on screen isn't all that great. But I did actually think the cinematography and stuff like that, like there's even a shot actually when they were in the hospital, which I only picked up at the second time. And on one side you see Rosa like all sad and alone, and then there's like a divider, and then you just see like Norma and Oscar talking with the hospital staff and like signing things. Like that was a really nice one. When her son like wheelchair takes her in the wheelchair outside, that's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful sunset. I was like, man, how did they get that one? That one's really nice. Um, so I think there was a lot of fun and good stuff. I think they can be definitely proud of their work, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, worthy of its accolades in the international sense.
Yeah, I was just looking up its budget, but it's not been disclosed.
I mean, it has to be a couple million. If it isn't, that's pretty crazy. And the box office made $31,000.
Oh, yeah.
That's what at least it says on Wikipedia. But it was released specifically in Peru, I believe. That's where that comes from. Let's see. Mistura had its world premiere at the Hamptons International Film Festival, Newport Beach, Santa Barbara, Sarasota. So it's just been premiering at film festivals for, it did that for about a year. And then it was commercial released in August 21st, 2025 in Peruvian theaters is what it says here. Is any final like summarizations of your positive thoughts on the film?
Overall, thematics, I think, very important, very progressive, portrays an interesting form of feminism that I think America should apply. So, overall, I really like the messaging and think it's a worthwhile watch.
Yeah, I agree. Also, it's really nice to see a movie like this come out of Peru. I'm not sure how many movies are filmed and set in Peru, so it's cool to be able to see movies that are, distributed from countries like this, and you get to be able to learn more about the culture and what it's like. And it looked really well. I appreciate, you know, the cinematography, the lighting. Yeah, I really liked how bright it was and the different colors. Yeah, I know. I specifically noticed how bright the things were, the lighting were in like the kitchen and stuff in the house. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed its take on feminism and breaking through that, and um, yeah, uh, involving everyone and being able to have that diversity, and because yeah, Peru is, I guess Lima is a melting pot, and so yeah, it's good to include everyone. Break the barriers of racism for you, as you will, lack of better words.
Yeah, I think it's still difficult for a lot of like Peruvian nationals, Ecuadorian nationals, Colombian nationals. They are just as stubborn as Norma is about like accepting other cultures. Like I think what's interesting is that here in Canada, my favorite cuisines have nothing to do with Canada. But if you were to go to a Latin American country, an Ecuadorian will fight for their life to say Ecuador has the best food, or a Mexican would fight to say that. Like that's what they have going on. While here we're just like every cuisine is pretty much better than ours. Like what even is Canadian cuisine? You know?
I don't think we have any.
No, it's pretty much derivative of other countries. So, um, but yeah, there's just so much great food out there, and I think yeah, there's a lot of great lessons to take from this movie, and something that like speaks true to a lot of Latin America. So I really appreciate the opportunity to have reviewed this film, to see it. Um, if there is ever any chance anyone gets to see this movie, we would actually recommend it for sure. Like it's a nice watch, and I think you'll be impressed, to be honest, with the flavors that are being shown on the screen. So I guess just a big shout out to Outsider Pictures, Kelly, letting us see the movie, and yeah, if you have any questions about the movie, maybe we can ask them and see what's up with that. But until then, I don't even know. Where can you find this movie? Is it even on YouTube to purchase? I have no idea.
You could share the Vimeo link. No, I'm just...
Kelly, are you okay with us sharing the Vimeo link?
I bet you she would be.
No.
What? They want to get this film out there.
I don't.
Yeah, probably not.
Not in that way. But yeah, no, you can't even purchase on YouTube. So we will provide an update if we ever hear that this movie is available to see. But until then, keep an eye out if it happens to show up in a random screening in your hometown or something. You know, we reach out to people in the USA and Canada, and we have a bit of an international audience, I'm sure. So, yeah, Mistura is the name. And I guess we'll mention the director, which I have not done. It is directed by Ricardo de Montreux. Yep. And he was born in the Miraflores district, it says, on Wikipedia, which is where they talked about. So that's really cool. Excellent. Well, other than that, message us or contact us, comment on the video, check out our other episodes as well. We have plenty of movies that we're reviewing and maybe in past film that you're interested in. Go and check that out. And you can check this all out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube, where you can see our very non-grand video, I guess, feed of us talking to each other. But please, yeah, feel free to interact as you will.
Beautiful. See you later, guys.
Awesome. See you later, guys.
Adios.
Bye.